What's up YouTube, Z Bowman here with an early tier list on the brand new TFT Set 5. This tier list is early and the meta is constantly shifting with everyone trying to figure out what to build and what items to put on who, but if you try out one of these builds that I'm about to go over, it'll give you an edge while everyone else is still scrambling to figure out what's OP. Without further ado, let's jump right into team number 1. First up, we have the High Roller build. The TFT meta is notorious for having unbalanced 5-cost units, and this patch is unfortunately no exception. The main focus of this build is you're going to be win streaking early with the strongest board you have possible and hitting a fast 9. This build is really only viable if you have a very solid early game board with decent synergies and or multiple 2-star units. From there, you want to save up your gold for level 9 and put in as many 5-cost units as you can. I'd recommend adding synergies like Ivern for Revenant with Volibear and Renewer with Heimerdinger, or Taric for Knight with Garen and Verdant with Kayle. If you have tank items, give them to Volley and or Garen. AP can also go on Garen or Heimerdinger, and attack speed can give a huge boost to Kayle's power. Speaking of Kayle, that brings us to our second composition. In my opinion, Kayle is the strongest 5-cost unit by far this patch, if she's allowed to get rolling. Once she reaches the final stage of her ability, I've yet to see a comp that can live through her swords raining down. The main focus of this build is to get 6 redeemed units and at least 2 legionary units. The other pieces aren't as vital, as long as you have these 2. You want a very beefy frontline to keep your Kayle alive as long as possible. Throw on support items for someone near the Kayle, and get her some attack speed items and survivability like a QSS or a GA. If you're having problems with assassin comps, don't be afraid to move your frontline to the 3rd row to stop her from getting one shot. On to team number 3. We have the Forgotten. You won't be forgetting this devastating team anytime soon, and you definitely shouldn't underestimate it. This build is a little tricky, as you need to roll enough early units to get 2 stars, but you also need to save up for level 9 so you can get your full 9 Forgotten put in. This build is also very money hungry, but if you're winning early with a few Forgotten champs, you can make it work very well. For this team, you want heavy damage on your Draven, as he'll be your main carry. Put him in the corner, give your Warwick some AP items or a Hextech Gunblade that works really well with his ability, and put the rest of your tank items on either Hecarim or Thresh. If you have extra items late game, you definitely want to put those on Viego. He works especially well with a Last Whisper or an Infinity Edge. Next we have Nightbringer, which I have valued just a touch higher over the Dawnbringer comp. With the Static Shiv no longer removing shields, there really isn't a lot of counterplay to it, plus you get the added damage on top of the shield to wreak havoc on your opponents. You need to play your strongest board for the first few rounds, then get to level 6 as quickly as you can, saving your econ here, don't blow all of your money on rolling or leveling, and get a hold of those 3-cost units like Yasuo and Lee Sin to carry you through the mid-game. Then, you want to save your economy as best as you can until you reach level 8. This is where the big rolling comes in, and you want to slow roll all of your gold above 50 until you get the pieces that you need. If you start taking a lot of damage and losing a lot of your health, you may have to roll a little bit lower, but try to stay above that 50 gold threshold as long as you can. Itemize this build by putting crit items like Infinity Edge and Last Whisper on Aphelios, support items on Ryze or Lee Sin for extra damage on Aphelios or Darius respectively, and finally, you want a damage item and at least 1 tank or survival item on Darius. I'd say Guardian Angel and Deathblade are your best options here. As previously mentioned, I have Knightbringer ranked just slightly above the Dawnbringers, but that doesn't mean they aren't a viable comp. The same rules as before apply, except you don't need to rush 6 quite as quickly here. You want to try to get your Gragas, Soraka, and Kha'Zix up to 2-star, then get up to level 6 to start focusing on finding your Nidalee and Riven. Once you have them, get to level 8 as quickly as you can and do your slow roll for Karma and Garen. 6 Dawnbringer is a devastating force, especially if you itemize and 2-star your Riven with damage and sustain, like a Bloodthirster and Titan's Resolve. Items like Hextech Gunblade, Guardian Angel, or Jeweled Gauntlet are incredibly powerful on Garen. If you have a lot of mana items, putting those on Karma or Nidalee is a viable option too, as well as AP items. Last but not least, we have the Hellion comp. I've left Teemo out of this one, as you want to be saving your econ and hitting 50 gold as soon as possible to roll for all the low-cost units in this build. Sell everything on your bench that you can to hit the 10, 20, and 30 gold econ spots so that you can get this as quickly as possible. Kled and Poppy will be your main frontline units, and you can add in cheap units like Hecarim or Nautilus for extra tank, depending on what you're going up against. You can also add in an extra Spellweaver like Brand or Victor for a little extra damage in the mix as well, but you should be doing just fine without it. This build is centered around hitting as many 2 and 3-star units as you possibly can, so slow rolling above 50 gold without putting any points into your level is crucial. If you aren't hitting the units that you need and you're starting to get low on health, don't be afraid to pivot out of this comp into something like 3 Skirmishers or 3 Forgotten, with 3 Hellions as well. Sometimes it's not worth it to keep rolling for that 5 Hellion. Best options for this build is tank items on Poppy, and mana and AP items on Ziggs and Kennen, as they'll be your main damage sources. Once you have a few 3-star units, you can start leveling for late game to get that sweet, sweet Teemo power spike. I haven't covered every single comp in the game, but I did go over the 6 comps that I found to be the most viable in my first days of playing on the PBE. This tier list may get completely changed once Set 5 hits the live servers, but hopefully this helps you get ready for what to expect from this set. If this video did help you out and you want to see more in-depth guides and rank tips to help you with your TFT grind, drop a like and subscribe. It's free for you and infinitely appreciated from me. I stream right here on YouTube every Saturday and Sunday, and I hope to see you there. I love you, I believe in you, and you've got this.